Hello, hello everyone. Welcome to our Thursday night. Almost said Wednesday night. Welcome to our Thursday night Cakery Creator Circle. Eileen was up before me of Creative Eye Designs by Eileen, and now it is my turn. I'm going to pull you up here on my phone really quick. Let me figure out. Oh, here we are. Here we are. Oh, I got to turn the volume down too. So, okay. So, how are you all? If you are here, say hello in the comments below. If you're catching this on replay, be sure and put hashtag replay. I get a notification. I can come back in and say hello to you. So I'm super excited to be here with you all. I said I wasn't going to make another watermelon themed item, and I'm not. Instead, I've got one more patriotic thing that I decided to make with you. So I'm going to be decorating for the 4th of July, and I just had a little space on my buffet, and I thought that maybe like a little charcuterie board would be nice to put on there. I've got some waffles coming up, not for tonight, but on another tutorial. And so I thought, why not do Pop-Tarts? So we are going to be making a little charcuterie board, and it's going to have Pop-Tarts, and we're going to have a little glass of orange juice on it as well. I'm not going to secure them until I decide if that's all I want on them, because I may add something else to them. Since it's kind of breakfast, I'm doing like a patriotic breakfast charcuterie board. So I may put some mini donuts on it too. So we'll see. So I'm going to grab my extra camera for you all, and then we'll get it so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay. You can see a peek at my watermelon cake over here in the corner. Hey, Janae, welcome, welcome. Okay, so let me see. I'm hoping that I didn't forget stuff. I got home a little later. I worked late and got home a little later than I was anticipating. So I was kind of rushing around. So anyway, I think I'm good. And I hope I don't have to leave and get anything. So, okay, so what we're going to need is and I don't have one finished, so we're gonna make it as you're gonna make it with me live tonight. But anyway, so I am making Pop-Tarts, and I'm making it out of a mold. And I'm gonna move my water over here. Okay, so I actually made this mold out of a real Pop-Tart, so that, because y'all know me, I love my realistic looking foods. But you don't have to. If you can purchase Pop-Tart molds, like Etsy sells them. I'm selling biscuit molds. I don't know if I'll add Pop-Tart molds to my collection or to my Etsy shop at some point. I may not. But as of right now, I don't offer the molds, but I did make this one for myself. So anyway, we're using a Pop-Tart mold. If you don't want to use a Pop-Tart mold, you can, and I'm using plaster of Paris, but if you don't want to go that route, then you can just use, you could make it out of clay, either foam clay or Model Magic clay, and then just shape it either with a cookie cutter or just use like a razor knife, you know what I mean? Just like a sharp knife or something in order to get the size that you want. And then if you do it that way, I wouldn't make it flat. I would do like 2 layers and then just kind of make the edging a little bit flatter, just so it looks like a Pop-Tart. So, and I'll show you what I mean. So I have a couple in process. Oh, my camera's over here. Hey, Marcita, and hey, Eileen, thank you so much. I'm glad that you got me in there. So what I mean is, like, I want this outline on my Pop-Tart. So if you're using a mold, you will get that. If you're not using a mold, then you're going to want to make sure that you add extra material to create that look. Okay. All right, so I'm using a mold. I'm using Perfect Plaster. I say plaster of Paris. Perfect Plaster is a plaster of Paris, but there's something a little extra in it, and it's just my favorite to use versus, I like it so much better than using plaster of Paris. I just find that for me, it's more forgiving. It just allows me to, like, I got something on my tray. I just noticed something sticky. Hey, Tammy, welcome, welcome. I just find that with plaster of Paris, for me, I just find like it dries and can get crumbly. But when I use Perfect Plaster, if I don't have enough, I can add more water, or I can add more of the powder. And then I find for me, like, it still works and sets up the same and doesn't get crumbly. So anyway, okay. So for my Pop-Tart tonight, I am making, I'm using the plaster of Paris, which is Perfect Plaster. And then for the colors of my Pop-Tart, I'm using two. I'm using Apple Barrel in the Antique White, and then I'm also using the Americana in the Cocoa. You can use any color that you want. I'm putting these together so that it's a 4-to-1 ratio for me to get the color, and then I'll show you. I have some ready. We're going to mix it up and I'm going to paint one, but I just want to show you, like, this is the one straight out of the mold with just plaster of Paris. And then here's my Pop-Tart that I've used that color on it. So you can see it's just like it just gives it more of that baked, like creamy yellow baked look that Pop-Tarts have. And then I will use, so I'm using this as like the base coat. And then if you want yours to look like it was toasted and a little brown on the edges, then what I do is I go back in with the cocoa and I do a dry brush technique so that I can just go around a little bit. We're going to coat the top of it, but I just go back around just a little bit on the edging just to give it that look like it was in the toaster and it got a little dark around the edges. So, okay, so we have those. Because I'm doing the patriotic theme, I found these little, they're like cabochons, and mine say Happy 4th of July. So again, I'm making this for my 4th of July buffet decor, like my little thing I'm going to be putting together. So I'm using these, and I'm going to put these on my Pop-Tart. And then I'm also using some sprinkles, and these happen to be, they're red, white, and blue regular sprinkles, and then there's little stars that are in here as well. You could use any sprinkle that you want. I actually was looking for, I know I have the red, white, and blue, the nonpareils, and I thought that would look really cute, and I couldn't find them. So I don't feel like I've used them up, but you know, who knows? I couldn't find them. So anyways, I'm going to catch up really quick and welcome some more of you in. Hi, Margarita. Hi, Nancy. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Cecilia. Hi, Barb. And then Janae says, can you use the 10-minute resin instead? Yes. Well, yes and no. Yes, you can. I'm actually using the 10-minute resin tonight for the topping. So you could use it if you wanted to use it for the entire Pop-Tart, you could. You would just want to do the base Pop-Tart in the 10-minute resin and then let that set up before you come back in and you add more of it on the top. Okay. So yeah, so you could if you wanted to. So let me see, what else? Okay, so I am using 10-minute resin. And so there's a couple different brands that I use. Tonight I'm using the casting resin that looks like this. And it just sets up in 10 minutes. Now it says 10 minutes, but just know, like, once you mix A and B together, the clock starts ticking. So so you only have a few minutes to actually stir it up, combine it, and then put it wherever you're going to put it. And then it starts to set up, and then it's already starting to cure within 10 minutes. So hey, Joe. Hey, sis. Welcome, welcome. So for tonight, because we are doing Patriotic, I'm not going to color my 10-minute resin, but I am planning on making more. So who knows, you might see some watermelon ones. But if I decide I want to color it, then I'm just going to use like a resin dye, like that will like a resin colorant dye that resin will accept. So that way it mixes in and it becomes part of the resin and it doesn't reject it. So, okay, so let's see, what else? Let's see. Okay, so I think, was that everything for my Pop-Tarts? I think so. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make an orange juice to go on our tray. Well, actually, let me show you my tray and then we can talk about that. Okay, so I'm using one of my 10-inch charcuterie boards. So it looks like this. If any of you took the gingerbread workshop with me, I used these in the gingerbread workshop. So they're the same. They're 11 inches, like from the top to the bottom here. And then like from here down, it's 7 inches. So the reason I'm using these, and let me just grab a couple of these so I can kind of show you, is because my Pop-Tarts and my little juice glass will fit on here. Okay. So those baby ones that you get like from Hobby Lobby, those are really tiny. So yeah, so that would be kind of hard to try to fit. For me, I'm doing 2 Pop-Tarts and then the juice, but I'm not attaching them again because I don't know, I might add donuts or something else. I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm using the 11-inch charcuterie board. And then because I wanted to stay with the patriotic theme, I've got a kind of like an off-white chalk paint that I'm going to use, and I'm going to paint the board just so it's not, just to give it some color on the top. And then I had some napkins that look like this. And what I did is the picture is on all four sides of my napkin. So what I did is I just cut it into fours, and then I cut out the little, it's like the little tin pot with the little flowers and then the pinwheels. And then I'm going to Mod Podge this, or decoupage I meant, onto my charcuterie board. So yeah. Okay, so let me think. Do I forget anything? Okay, so I'll need Mod Podge for that. Oh, for my orange juice, I'm using regular resin, not the 10-minute resin, the regular resin. And then I'm also using, I grabbed my bag of snow. So it's just like the white snow, like you would get at Christmas time. So I'm going to grab that because I want my orange juice to look like it has some pulp in it. And then I have my epoxy resin, so I just grabbed that. I'm going to use a couple different colors. Probably just white, yellow, and gold out of this package should work. And I think that's it. I think we can get started. So I'm going to start with the Pop-Tart, like pouring the plaster of Paris into that mold, so that we'll just start from the beginning, and then we'll just kind of go along. We'll go from there, okay, because that's kind of the beginning. The other thing I got out was I have like a little mini iron that I use for my, when I do decoupage. And then I also got out my, it's an embossing gun, but you know, a heat gun gets hot. I got this out too, so that I can paint the board and then dry it. I want to paint the board and I want to dry it with the heat gun. And then I want to add the Mod Podge and then dry it. And then I want to add the napkin and then iron it. So I kind of need both tools. I can't do it with just one. So, all right. So let's get started. Let me take a drink of water really quick. I think I said I have everything. Like, we'll see. I hope I have everything. Okay. So let me grab a cup. And I have water over here. Let me move my mouse out of the way, keep it safe, and a spoon. So I just have one of my little trays here. And that's the reason for that, is so that I can pour it and then I can just move the whole tray. Like it'll be out of my way, and then it will just sit on here until it sets up. So that'll be just fine. All right. So again, I am using Perfect Plaster, but I just refill this container. So originally I started out with plaster of Paris many years ago, and then I switched. But, you know, I like to upcycle, recycle things. And so instead of tossing this, the bag that a Perfect Plaster I get is a large bag, and it won't all fit in the container. So this way it's like I can just pour it in a little bit at a time as I need it, like keep refilling this as I need it. So, hey, Jennifer, welcome, welcome. Okay, so for my Pop-Tart, because I've already made them, I know it takes 1.5 of my scoops. The scoops don't come with it. These are from, I used to drink protein shakes when I was a health coach and fitness trainer. And so I just saved them and then I reuse them for things. And they just work out perfect. Okay, so I'm going to do 1.5 scoops. And then just like regular plaster of Paris, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So you're going to use, I have 2 cups in here. I've got one for the powder and then I use one for the liquid. But you're going to do 2-to-1. So it's 2 parts of the powder to 1 part water. So, okay, so I have my water in just a little, here, I'm going to shut this. I have my water in my little ray gun pitcher. It says cream. I need one that says water, don't I? Okay. All right. And then I'm just going to pour this in here to about maybe 3/4 because I need half for the first scoop and then about 1/4 for the next one. But I'm just going to pour it in this way and then adjust it as I need to, because I don't want it to be too thick. And the reason is because my mold, the way I molded my Pop-Tart, and here I'll show you in just a second. I'm going to add a little bit more water to this. The way I molded my Pop-Tart is I left this edge that goes over top of the Pop-Tart because I wanted to make sure that I wanted it to go all the way around here. I wanted it to go all the way around my Pop-Tart. But by doing that, I really have to make sure I get it in these corners. And if it's too thick, it's harder to get it down in those corners. So I'm going to add a little bit more water. It's still a little bit too thick. And I always try to tell you, and I didn't myself, I'm looking, nope. Whenever I'm working like with plaster of Paris or resin on a project, I try to have extra silicone molds handy, like near me. So that way, if I make too much of a mixture, I don't want to waste it, and I can pour in what I need for my current project. And then any leftovers will go into like another mold. So, and I didn't. I was going to grab my little chocolate chip mold because that's usually what I like to grab if I'm making these, just because I generally am pretty good about getting the right amount in my mold. But if there's just a tiny bit left over, even a tiny bit, like I'd rather make a couple chocolate chips than just toss it. Okay, so that's stirred up pretty good. So I'm going to start by spooning mine in, and then I'm not pouring mine in on this mold because, as I said, I really want to take that spoon and get it down in those corners. I just noticed that when I don't do that, some of my Pop-Tarts, like the corners, look like they weren't like they were missing a little bit, but it kind of doesn't bother me because, to be honest, I had to buy Pop-Tarts to make a mold of them. And, you know, I don't just open one package and mold, open it up and find a pretty one that I like. And some of them, like, they were already cracked. Some of the corners were already broken, missing. So I'm like, okay, there you go. That's realistic. That's real life. So anyway, so I'm just using my spoon to just kind of push it down in my corners. And then I'll go back in, and what's left, I'll just stick it in the middle. Okay, there we go. All right, just a little bit more. Okay. Oops. Again, I just don't want to waste any. I'm just going to try to scrape it off the edges. Okay, that's fine. All right, and then I always tap my molds just to get the air bubbles out, and it also just helps settle like that the plaster of Paris. So really, I just go like this. I just kind of tap it a little bit, and then mine doesn't really have air bubbles, but again, I just want to make sure it's down in those corners. Okay. All right, and then once I do that, I'm just going to set it aside. So I'm going to move it over. My voice left. I'm going to move it over here and then set it and forget it for just a second. Let me set it. Okay. I'm going to make sure it's sitting flat. Okay. So that's it for the start of our Pop-Tart. Okay. And then once it cures, so when you first demold it, like you want to wait a little while, but when you first like demold it out of there, let me grab a paper towel. Do I have some? Oh yeah, here's a little piece. Okay, so when I first demold it, it's kind of like, it feels a little bit like wet, looks a little bit gray, and it feels a little bit heavy. So the more it dries, it's like the lighter it gets and the whiter that it gets, okay? So anyway, so this one is ready. So I'm gonna bring these over here, and then I also have two more. We're gonna decorate these two to put on the tray for tonight. So let me move my, actually, I'm gonna move my water over to here. Hang on just a second. Sorry, teddy bear, I'm coming your way. All right, if I need it, I'll grab it. I know I'm going to be plugging in the iron and that, and I'm like, I don't really need open water here on my table. So, okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to paint these. Let me grab a little bit of parchment. Let's see. Oh, here. Let me grab one from over here. Okay. I'm going to scooch these. So if you guys have any questions at this point, just let me know. Move my mouse out of the way. All right. So these two are done. And then I'm going to lay this one sideways. Okay. You don't have to measure, but you all know me. I like to create my recipes. So I'm just going to zero out my scale. And then here's a little cup. And then I'm going to put my cup on here. And then for my color, I just kind of played around until I came up with a color that I liked for the base of my Pop-Tarts. So for that, I'm using antique white, and I'm using 4 parts of antique white to 1 part of the Americana and the cocoa. Okay, so I'm just going to use my scale, and I'm going to weigh this out. got another one because I feel like this one I might not have enough, but we'll see. It's just going to be noisy as I squeeze it. That's okay. Okay. I'm going to do 0.4 for this. Like I said, it's for me, I did 4 parts of the light cream and then 1 part of the cocoa. Oh, I think I've got it. Okay, yeah. There, 0.4. So let's close that. And then 1 part of the cocoa. All right. This hole is kind of weird. Okay. That was easier. Alrighty. And then I'm going to grab, let me grab a, at least 1. I don't know if I need 2, but I'm going to grab 1 glove so I can hold it in my hand and I can paint it. Okay. So how are you all doing tonight? This is like, oh, I'll have to show you my cup. You might have already seen it. This is my Friday. So it's my Friday. Did you see my cup? Oh, it's over here. So it's my Friday because tomorrow's it's the start of our vacation for June. So excited. I'm so excited, but it's honestly, it's a working vacation. Like my husband and I, we have so many projects and we've just not been able to get started due to, you know, weather and different things. And now we've got a week coming up that's just going to be supposed to be really beautiful. So I'm looking forward to that. Let me stir this up and make it 1 color. Okay. So if you have another shade of paint that you want, you don't have to use these 2 and combine these. I just love being able to kind of play around. And what I do is whatever I'm making, like for this one, I took the real Pop-Tart and I just kept playing around with different colors and combinations until I felt like I came up with something that really mimicked the look of the Pop-Tart. And I bought like Kellogg's Pop-Tarts. I didn't buy like off-brand or store brand. I just felt like I wanted the real deal. Even though I'm not eating them, I just felt like it. So that's another thing I did notice is that if you purchase different brands, they're going to be different sizes and they're going to look slightly different as well, which is not a bad thing. I'm just making note of that. So, okay. So with this one, actually, before I paint it, I'm going to grab another small piece of parchment so that I can leave this for when I do the resin. So let me see if I have a, oh yeah, here's a small one. Okay, good. I'm going to scooch those out of the way. All right, awesome. So I'm going to use a separate piece of parchment and bring my paintbrush. And you can use a bigger paintbrush. I just realized I kind of grabbed a small one. It would make quick work if I did grab the bigger one, but that's okay. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint the entire thing. Again, this is plaster of Paris and it's already cured. Sometimes, I know I've shared this with you guys, sometimes if I have a couple techniques of drying it a little quicker. Well, actually, I have 3 techniques. Okay, so the first one is to let it dry by itself, which is just to air dry, and just let it, you know, whatever pace that it takes, you know, however long it takes, that's fine. My winter technique is we live in a very old house, almost 100 years old, and so we have really big registers with heat that pours out of them. And so in the winter, when I do plaster of Paris, what I do is I will stick my, I have like the dry, like a cookie sheet, like a cookie drying rack. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like it's like 9 by 13 or something like that. It has all the little lines, like the little bars that you can put cookies on to let the air flow around the cookies. So what I do is in the winter, I put that over top of my register and then I put my whatever pieces of plaster of Paris pieces that I've created. I just put them on there and that heat, like the heat isn't on, it's not on constantly. It like comes on and off depending on, you know, the temperature in the house. But anyway, so I put them on there and then I can just set them and forget them and come back later. And then you can just see the difference. Like when I put like different batches on there, like the older batches, like they get very dried out and like very white, like very quickly. So I like that because it's like no real extra effort for me to do that. Now, another technique when it's not the winter, if you don't mind your oven being on, is I will turn my oven on low, just like when you're doing like polymer clay. So sometimes anywhere between like 175 to 275. And I will put them on my, not a regular cookie sheet that my family uses, but one of my fake bake cookie sheets. And I will put them in there and it does the same thing. Like it just sort of, it doesn't really cook them per se, like bake them. It just, the heat of it helps dry them out. Okay, and then my other technique, so it's like air dry, the winter rack, the oven, and then my fourth technique is I have a what is it called? It's a, oh my god, I'm going blank. So it's a, oh my god, I want to say humidifier. That's not the word. I can't remember the name of it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's like racks and you can put like fruit on it and it dries them out. I'm totally going blank on the name of it. But anyway, I have one of those for my crafts too. And when I think of the name, I'll tell you. So it's like, I'm not sure. But anyway, so that's when I'm like in the house and it's not ideal to like take them outside, because my other thing I do is, so I guess I have another technique after that, which is we have a deck. And so sometimes I will take them outside with the cookie sheets out there, and then I will set them on the deck and just let them like bake in the sun like you would do like tea, like sun tea, right? So anyway, so my point is, depending on where you live and the humidity and the temperature, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it, especially for those of you that might have a store or like you have orders and you're trying to like crank them out. It will just help you like get more done quicker, like more efficiently, right? Okay, so I'm going to move this over to here. Oh, thank you. Nancy said dehydrator. Yeah. What was I calling it? I think, what did I call it? I didn't say dehydrator, but yes. Oh, Tammy says okay, yeah. And Tammy says in Florida, I set them outside for a day. Yes, same. Yep, right. So we have like this really huge grill, like big grill and then two sides to it. And so sometimes I will set them, it's like stainless steel. So it gets really hot, even though it's stainless. And so sometimes I will stick them over there too. It's funny because if my dogs follow me outside, they think, oh, I said humidifier, didn't I? Yes, dehydrator. Thank you. And the dehydrator that I bought is really kind of funny. I thought it was like, I don't know. I didn't read the measurements. I got it off Amazon and I didn't read the measurements, and it's like a really tiny little dehydrator. So it's great for like cookies. It would be great for the Pop-Tarts. It's great for anything that's like small and flat, not something that's very tall. So yeah, so I was going to do like some ornaments on there back last Christmas. And my ornaments were too thick and it's really tiny. So, but anyway, so, I missed the window of returning it. I didn't realize because I got it and then I wasn't ready to use it. And then when I was, and then realized it wasn't going to work. Well, I mean, it works, but it wasn't the size that I thought. The window had shut. Like I was too late to return it. So I was like, well, okay, we'll just use it for cookies, which is fine. Okay. So that one's painted now. So then you're just going to let that dry. I'm going to take a drink really quick. Okay. And then we're going to switch. Move these aside. Okay. So for these, I've got, here it is. So I'm using, let me grab, oh, I'll grab another one of these. Okay. And actually I need a paper towel. I used it to, oh, good. I was like, I just used it to dry my hand. So I was hoping I still had some, and I do. So, okay. So I'm going to use a little bit. For these, I am going to give it more of the toasted look. So I'm going to use my paper towel. I'm going to put a little bit of my cocoa colored paint on the paper towel. And then let me grab a dry brush. I should have washed my brushes. I have a couple that are my favorites, and they are they're wet. Okay, well that might be okay. Let me look. Let me just see. All right. Okay, I can use this one. I'm gonna dry this off a little bit. Okay, so I like this one because it's a very stiff brush, and I like it when I'm doing like a dry brush technique. It just works really well. Okay, so let me move that over there. If you guys have any questions at this point, let me know. Whoops, hang on. Almost lost us. There we go. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to put a little bit on, I'm actually going to put a little bit in here first, and then I'm going to dip my brush and wipe it off. There we go. I'm going to fold it one more time. Okay. So it's like you want to load your brush up with the shading color, but then you want to try to remove most of it. Okay. All right. So then I just go along my edges and just add a little bit. Just like I kind of want to hit the high spots, just because I want it to look like it was in the toaster and it got a little brown from being in the toaster. I'm not so worried about the center because we're getting ready to decorate it with the icing and then again my little sprinkles. So, but I just want to add a little bit just so that way. I just really like shading on all my stuff. You all probably know that about me by now. I just think that it gives it more depth, like by not looking like one color. I just like that. But I am going to go over not the center, but I'm going to go over the edges just in case when I go to do my icing, in case it doesn't quite get all the edges. I feel like I need it there. Okay. And then also I painted the top and I'm going to let that dry and then I'll come back and I'll paint the bottom. Okay. There we go. All right. So let me show you the difference. So this one I didn't paint, and then this one in my left hand I did. So you can kind of see the shading in this one. I just like it better. Like, you know, I mean, some people don't toast their pastries like their Pop-Tarts, and some people do. My kids always toasted theirs, like they just did. So I'm going to dip that and then rub that back off. So I don't want a bunch on there. Okay, and then I'm just going to go over this. Okay, and then I don't know if I said, did I say the Mod Podge and the matte? I think I did, but if I didn't, I just saw it sitting there. We're going to use that too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal the Pop-Tart with the Mod Podge. Whenever I'm doing like plaster of Paris, perfect plaster, I always like to seal it just because, you know, I want to make sure, depending on like, especially if you're selling it, I don't know like the temperature and the humidity of where it might be going. And I don't want it to like, I want to make sure it's sealed so that no moisture can like cause it to like get, you know, not stay solid and cured, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So. Oh, Eileen says she likes them toasted. Right? I mean, I don't eat them, but I always liked them toasted too. And then, you know, you'd be anxious to eat them. The filling would burn your mouth. It's like, I'm not going to wait. I toasted it because I wanted it hot. I'm going to have to eat it right away. Okay, so there's those two. I'm going to add a little bit more in this corner just to be sure. Okay. All right. Okay. And then, so I think that's good. Let me check this one out. So even though I'm finished painting, like dry brushing, there's still some in my brush, and I like to go over it a little bit again because I just feel like it kind of gives it more of that like blended look. All right, so here's my two Pop-Tarts just by themselves right now. And then now let's move this out of the way, and we're going to use a 10-minute resin and we're going to decorate the top of them. Okay. All right, so I'm going to leave it here. Actually, let's move. This is dry now. You can tell when it's dry, when your plaster of Paris is dry, the paint just sucks it up. Like it just really sucks it up. All right, so now with these, I'm going to use the matte Mod Podge, and then let me grab a little one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in, I'm going to seal them with the Mod Podge. Oh, I should have left my glove on. But then I'm going to use the heat gun to dry it so that we can go into the next step. But if I wasn't like on camera, I would just do the Mod Podge and I would just leave it, like let it dry by itself. I'm going to do a little bit more. And I'm using the matte too. I like the matte when I'm doing like baked goods like this. I just think it just looks better. It just kind of gives it like a little bit of a sheen. I wouldn't use gloss on these because I don't want it glossy. Let me plug this in while I'm here thinking about it. And then check my time. This is not going to be a two-parter, promise. And I do not like to break promises, so let me check my time. Let me just see really quick. Okay, good. 70, 75, I was going to say. 7:35. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm just going to put them in my hand. And then for this, because I'm putting the resin over top of the center, I'm just going to go around the edges. And the reason is that I want to be able to put the resin on it and not worry about, I'm going to use a bigger brush for this one, and not worry about I just want to make sure before I add the resin that I've sealed them. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Okay, and then the sides and the bottom, I can come back in later and seal them after the resin is on there. I just want to do it now before I even do the resin. And then that way I don't have to worry. I don't want to come back and try to seal it when there's resin on it, because I don't want the Mod Podge to touch the resin. Okay, does that make sense? I think it does. In my brain it does. Let me know. Okay, so I'm just going to go over these like this really quickly. And then again, as you can see, I'm leaving the center, but I am getting like just the edges, just because, again, when I go to put, okay, so 10-minute resin is a little tricky. Don't be intimidated by it. But it's like, if you put it on too soon, it's going to be too thin and watery. If you wait too long, it will seize up on you. So there's kind of like that little magic window, like this little like time that you just kind of got to figure it out. So when I do these, I'm not doing two at the same time. I found that it happens too quickly if I try to do them at the same time. It's just better for me to do them one at a time. The resin one at a time is what I'm saying. And the other thing is that the smaller amounts of resin that I do, I don't want to waste it. And then because, as I said, if you put it on too soon, it's just going to be thin and it's going to want to run off of it. I don't mind if a little bit runs off, because honestly, on some of the Pop-Tarts that I opened, they weren't just in the center. So that doesn't bother me, because I feel like, okay, that's a little bit realistic too. And you all know I love doing realistic. So anyway, I'm going to just make sure I get these edges. And then I'm just going to use that heat gun just to kind of set it a little bit before we do the resin. Okay. And then, like I said, there we go. Once it dries, I can come back in and make sure all the edges are done, and then also do the back side. Okay. So I'm just going to use my heat gun, and I'm just going to hold it in my hand. I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit loud. It's not too bad, but it'll be loud. Okay. And then I'm just drying it. And honestly, I just like the look. Like if you're going to make Pop-Tarts and you're going to use them, like not use them, make them out of like plaster of Paris, don't skip the step of sealing them with the Mod Podge. It just finishes them. It really gives them more of a finished look to them. And I think you'll be more pleased with that look than if you don't do it. Okay. I'm going to switch, grab this one. I didn't put a very thick layer, so it does want to, like, it's already kind of drying on here. But yeah, but it just gives you a better look. And some of my Pop-Tarts, like the edges on mine are kind of missing, and I'm like, it is what it is. Like, that's real life, right? Like, if you open up your Pop-Tarts, like, you'll see some of them are cracked already. Some of them are missing pieces. It just is what it is. Okay, so that's good enough to start with that. Let me move these out of the way. Okay, I'm going to leave this glove on because I'm going to do the resin. So let me scooch that out of the way. And then I'm going to move this out of the way. All right, so let me grab our resin. And then let me take a drink. Do I have, oh, good. All right, so for these, let me take a drink first, sorry. Okay, so for these, I'm using 10 milliliters for my topping. So it's 0.5 of A, 0.5 of B, which equals 10 milliliters. And I'll show you. I'll hold it up on the camera if you're not sure what I'm talking about. So it's a very tiny amount, but it's going to dry. Oh, I need to get these ready too. I almost forgot. Like, and do that. Before you pour any resin, especially the 10-minute resin, have all of your supplies ready. so that you're not scrambling to get them. I'm just going to pour these in here. And then that one had a huge, I don't know what that is. It's not even a sprinkle. But anyway, I'm just gonna pour them in here. It'll just make it easier for me to sprinkle them on there. Okay. And then these are little plastic cabochons. They're flat, so I'll show them to you like this. They're just flat. And so my plan is I'm just going to put them on my Pop-Tart in the center like this, and then add all the sprinkles all around it. So it's just going to be in the center. Yeah, just in the center. Okay, so I have that. I grabbed 3 of them because I have 3 Pop-Tarts, but we're going to only make 2 tonight. Let me check my time again. 41. Okay. All right. So I'm going to grab another glove because I need it since I'm handling the bottles. And then here's my spoon, not my spoon, my stir stick. All right. So once you mix it up, like I said, it goes pretty quick. Because I'm doing Patriotic, I'm leaving this white. Like I'm not adding a colorant to this. I'm just leaving it white. Let me scooch. And then I'll move. I don't want it in your way. Okay, good. I'm going to move these back over to my table. Okay. I'm only going to do one at a time. Again, I found that if I try to do too much at once, it's just really hard to manage it. I feel like if I do them separate, then I just mix them up twice and it does just fine. Okay, so there's my A, that away, and then B. Again, just remember, like when you add them together, your clock starts ticking. Okay, get these in here. All right, and I'm not adding colorants, so I'm just gonna do. Yeah, no. Janae asked, would you still put Mod Podge if you only use the 10-minute resin to make them? No, I would not. You wouldn't need to. Let me think for a second. Like I definitely use it to seal it, but I also do it for the look of it. So okay. So I'm not going to say no because I haven't made the whole Pop-Tart with the 10-minute resin yet. So, I know and it's hard to show you. I mean, I can kind of show you between these two. You can kind of see like now this one has more of a shine than this one, even though I did add the shading on this one. But I don't know. I haven't done them with that. So, hey, Jill, welcome. So now, Janae, I want to make one. Now I want to make one all out of the 10-minute resin so that I can see like what will that do? But what I'm thinking is that even if you use the 10-minute resin and then you paint that, because you're going to still need to paint it. It's going to be white. And then you're going to want to shade it. So I think you might still want to do it. Like maybe not all over it, maybe just on the top. You know what I mean? Like maybe just on the edges like I did. And the reason would be to like give it that sheen. Otherwise it might, you might be missing that sheen. Okay. So I can feel it getting warm in my hand, which is fine. But again, like if I put it on too soon, and I can drip a little bit on here. If I put it on too soon, it's going to want to run. And I am not putting it on with the stick. I just realized, oh, the stick. I didn't want the stick. Let me get a spoon. There we go. Hey, Jill, we are making a Patriotic charcuterie breakfast board. And right now, here we go. Right now I'm making Pop-Tarts, and for the top of it, I'm using 10-minute white resin to give that the look of the icing. And then I'm going to sprinkle, like I can already see it's setting up. So like I don't want to hurry, but I do because I need to get that stuff on there. But I don't want it to run off. I want it to try to stay more on, because you'll see that molded edge. So I want to try to keep it to where, so I see a drip that's already come off, and I'm okay with that. But I'm gonna, okay, there we go. It's already setting up. All right, I got to switch. I got to switch so that I can get my sprinkles and my 4th of July on here. So I'm just going to lay it on there and then give it a little sprinkle. And you want to sprinkle it while it's still wet so that the sprinkles stick to it and then they just become part of it. Okay. And then I didn't color this, so it will just look like white icing. Right now, I'm going to remove this. I'm feeling like I need more red and blue down here. Right now it looks pretty transparent, but once it dries, it won't. It'll look solid white. Okay. There we go. All right. And I'll hold it up for you in just a second, because being that it's the 10-minute resin, like you can, like once it starts to set up, you're good. Okay. Just want to add a little blue. Okay. And then we're going to do a second one. So I'm going to hold this up for you, but it's not going to hurt anything. But I want to show you. Look. Can you see? I'll hold it by the edge. Is it cute? I think it's going to be cute. So Janae says, I'm going to make some for the granddaughter's playroom bakery and they will be played with a lot. So I'm thinking I would. Oh, if you do that, definitely do the resin. Like definitely, because then you don't have to worry. The plaster of Paris, I wouldn't want you to play with those because they're not going to, they're just going to end up being more fragile in the long run. Okay. And then we're going to switch. I've got this one. We're going to keep letting it do its thing. But yeah, so Jill, so we're doing, let me check my time. I said I would not do 2 parts. Oh my goodness, 47. Okay. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to move on to the orange juice because you've already seen me do one, and then now you know how to do the one. Okay. All right. So, and then that'll be, before we end, you'll see, like that'll be set up. Okay. So I'm going to grab my glove back. Okay. So for the orange juice, what I do is, okay, so here's my board. And I'm not going to glue everything on. So what I'll do is I'll do this and I'll make the orange juice. And then I said there wouldn't be part 2. Well, there's not going to be a part 2, but I will show you the finished look after my tutorial. But anyway, so there's enough room for this little glass and then 2 of my Pop-Tarts to sit on here, like I'm going to show you. So this is the board that I'm going to use. So you can see like they'll fit on there. But anyway, so my glass that I'm using, what I did is I just poured in, it's an 8-ounce glass. And so here, I'll hold it over here. I got it in the wrong camera. Well, that camera's not here. So it's an 8-ounce glass and I'm going to do, I want it to be like halfway. So I'm making sure. So what I do is I wash this with Dawn and then I use alcohol and I clean it really good so that my resin, you know, sits really good in there. Okay, so, oh, it's so cute. I can't wait to show you. I'm going to let it finish a little bit. I only have like one spot where the icing dripped and I like it. Like it doesn't look bad at all. So, thank you, Nancy. She said, cute, cute, cute. Love the cabochons. Yeah, they're super cute. I'm really happy with those. Okay, so I'm going to grab my resin. Okay, so for this, it's going to be orange juice, so I don't want a straw in it. If you want to make orange juice and put a straw in it, you can. I polled my family and I said, hey, I'm going to make orange juice. Would you drink it with a straw on this size cup? And they were like, what? No. They're like, that's why it's little, because it's like, whoop, gone. So anyway, so this is I'm going to do 4 ounces. So I'm going to do 2 ounces of A, 2 ounces of B. So I've got my big resin here. And then let me check my time. 49. Okay. We got this. Okay. So with this one, I'm going to use gold and yellow and white because I want it to have a little bit more of an opaque look to it when I combine it. So, okay. And then this is not deep pour resin because I could use deep pour, but I've done it with the regular resin and it worked out just fine. Now this glass, my glass is a little bit on the thick side. So if your glass was more like on the thinner side, I would definitely use deep pour because with deep pour, it takes longer. I'm going to do, I was going to say, I got to be quiet while I measure. With the deep pour, it takes longer. It can take up to 3 days for it to cure, but it doesn't get as hot. And so it cures at a slower rate. And so with that, like if your cup tends to be on the thinner side, I would definitely use that, because if you don't, then what will happen, or what can happen, is the regular resin over time can still contract and expand. And if your glass is not, like if it's more on like the thinner side, then what can happen is, oh, I want the spoon for this. What can happen is it can end up cracking your glass, like even later on. And you don't want that, especially if you make something like this and you send it off, you know, sell it and send it off to somebody, and they don't let you know, like maybe your glass cracked, you wouldn't know. And we don't want that. So, all right. So again, I'm doing 4 ounces. This is regular resin. I'm combining A and B and then adding my color, because I wanted to keep moving. A lot of times I'll do just one A or B and then add the color and then get a color and then move on. But for tonight, I'm just going to go ahead and add these. Okay, so I'm going to do, where's my recipe? Here we go. Gold and yellow. And then I'm doing white. Okay, so for these, I don't want it to look like lemonade. So I'm going to do 2 drops of the gold. And then 1 drop of the yellow. And then let me stir that up and see what color it is. Again, I want it to look like orange juice. I don't want it to look like lemonade. Okay. Oh, sorry if you hear honey. Okay, so right now it's very yellow. Can you see it? Okay, and then now I've got the white. See? I'm going to do 3 and then see what it looks like. Okay, and then I've got the snow because I want pulp in my orange juice. Don't know about you all, but I like pulp in my orange juice. Sorry if you hear honey. Okay, so I did 3. I'm going to add more. 3 more. So when you do the white, what it does is it keeps it from looking transparent. So I don't want it to look like a pop, you know, like a soda or a pop or something. I want it to, when it dries, orange juice is not transparent. Like it's darker, can't see through it, kind of a thing. Okay, so as you can see, it's starting to look more like orange juice. I'm going to do 1 more of the gold. And then I got to check my time. I didn't want to go over. Hold on. 52. Okay. All right, we got this. Okay. So I'm adding the gold because if I add more of the yellow, it's going to get more of like a lemonade color. All right. So here's what it looks like so far. Starting to look like orange juice. I'm going to do 1 more and then I'll switch to the white, I think. All right. And then, yes, I am creating this as we are live. So I will go back and write my recipe down. But I'm going to show you, I have orange juice here because y'all know I like it to be matchy-matchy. So here's my real orange juice. So here's my real orange juice. And then here's the other one. And this orange juice looks a little bit yellower, like golden. Almost spilled that. So I'm going to add another one of these. Okay. And then I'll just keep track when I do my recipe how much resin I used. All right. I'm using a plastic spoon because if I use the, if I go to use like a wooden stick, like a popsicle stick, it's going to stick to it and my colors might not be good. All right. I'm liking it so far. What do you all think? I'm going to add just a little touch of white again because I added a lot of color and I don't want it to. I added 2 of the white actually. The white is an opaque and it just gives it more of that, so it's not transparent. It tones it down so it's not transparent, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right. All right, I think that's orange juice. Here you go. There and there. Pretty good. I'm happy with that. Okay, let me check my time. All right, I've got 6 minutes. All right, Barb is coming up after me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, oh wait, I'm going to stir this one more time. I saw a little streak of white. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by putting half of it in my cup, and then I'm going to add the snow. And if you do, make sure that you, like, as you can see me, like drip it in the center, because if you drip it like on the side, it's going to dry and it's resin, and it's going to cure like that on the side of your cup. So if you don't want it to look like you've spilled it on your cup, then just be real careful, like as you're, just be aware and be careful. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm just going to pour about half of it in the bottom. And the reason is because and I'll hold this up in a second. Okay, so mine has a lot of pulp. And if you look at it, like the bottom is clearer and my pulp is kind of sitting about midway to the top. Okay, so I want it to mimic that. So, okay, so let me get my juice in here. Again, I'm not doing a straw. My kids said I was silly to even think that. I wasn't trying to be silly. I was just trying to figure it out. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my snow. This one's not opened. I'm going to grab another spoon. And, okay, so I got 3 minutes. All right, so Barb from Creative Hearts Corner is coming up next after me. So stay tuned. If you are on her page, you can like and follow her, and then you'll get notifications when she goes live. If you're watching it from the Heavenly Fake Bake Decor group, as soon as I end my live, all you'll need to do is refresh the page, and then her live will start. Okay, so I'm grabbing, this is the snow, and I'm going to do one. I should have cut the bag open more. That's okay. 2. I'm going to do 3 spoons, and then we'll see if that's enough. Let me put that over there. All right, and then I'm going to stir it into my resin. So that way it's like you're going to get that. I don't want it to look white. I want it to look like pulp, right? So, and I'll show you in just a second. I'm going to stir that in. So now you can see it's very thick and pulpy. That's a proper word, right? Okay, and then because I have this, I'm just going to spoon it on top. That. Again, being careful, I don't want to spill it all over my cup, but when it dries, or not dries, but you know what I mean. I'm going to take smaller spoons. When it cures, you're going to see like those little, hopefully it looks like pulp. Like that's, I think it will. I mean, I've made frozen drinks before and they did. So I think this one absolutely will. So let me just get the rest of it in here. Okay, but thank you all for tuning in and watching me. I appreciate it. I've got 2 minutes, and I told you I would get done. I wouldn't need a part 2. However, like I said, I will come back in and I will show you the finished charcuterie board just to show you how I'm displaying it. Again, I'm going to decoupage a napkin on there that's got the little flowers and pinwheels just to give it more of like a 4th of July patriotic look. Okay. So, and also if you're using snow, some of the snow comes in just the white, and others come in like an iridescent. So if you do get yours in iridescent, you can use that. That's what I'm using. You just want to make sure that your resin, like it's stirred completely in, so you don't see any of those colors. Okay. All right. Thank you all again for spending Thursday night with me. I appreciate it. Thank you for supporting us at the Cakery Creator Circle. We all appreciate you. And yeah, and so we are here weekly. I'm going to pick it up and try to show you. I'll just be very careful. So here you go. Can you tell? I'll try to hold it down. All right. So there's my orange juice. I'm going to show you my Pop-Tart really quick, and then I'm going to sign off so that, oh, I can lift it up now. All right, so here's the Pop-Tart. Looks like that, 4th of July. So you can see the little icing drip, which did just fine. But anyway, so I will come back in the group or on my business page, and I'll post a finished picture of my charcuterie. I'm calling it the Patriotic Breakfast. What am I calling it? The Patriotic Breakfast Charcuterie Board is what I'm calling it. So anyway, thank you all so much. And again, if you are in the Heavenly Faith Baked Decor group, all you need to do is refresh your page and Barb will be up next. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your night.